Hey, it's Matt from iTech224, and the HTC One is one of the most talked about phones of 2013. This is HTC's flagship, it's their top of the line, and in all honesty it's their last stand in the smartphone market. With competitors like Samsung and Apple, HTC is finding it hard to stay in the race, but with the HTC One, they're putting up a heck of a fight. Overall, this phone is truly amazing. From build quality to screen quality to user experience, it's doing pretty darn good. Starting off with build quality, this is second to none. It's made using aluminum and glass, and it really feels great in your hand. When you first pick it up, you're really surprised with the heft that it has to it, but it's not a bad heft. It makes it feel like a quality product, and it's solid in your hands. You can tell that HTC really wanted to make this a top-of-the-line product, and it really shows with the build quality. Now, there are some issues that some people have been experiencing, and I am one of those people, unfortunately. It's not a big deal, but there is a little bit of a lifting on the screen. You can't really tell, but it definitely wasn't there the first day I bought it, and other people have complained of this too. Up front we have the beautiful 4.7-inch 1080p display, which we'll get to in a second. Above that you have your array of sensors in the front-facing camera, and below that you have your capacitive buttons for home and back, and I have to say I was a little bit disappointed with these. First off, the placement feels weird and it feels hard to access, and I kept hitting the HTC logo thinking that was the home button, but even when I did hit the correct button, sometimes it wouldn't respond and it would take 3 taps before it actually worked. The home button also has multiple features, so if you click it once, it's going to take you home. If you double click it, it's going to take you to the multitasking tray, and if you hold it down, it's going to take you to Google Now. Up top we have the power button, which also acts as an IR blaster through an app, and it works very well. It works with all the TVs in my house. I didn't really use it much, but that's just because I don't use the TV that much, but it does work, and it works very well and is more responsive than my normal TV remote. Next to that we have the 3.5mm jack. On the right side you have your volume controls, which is a little bit weird considering most Android phones these days have the power button there, but it's pretty easy to get used to. Down bottom you have the mini USB port, and on the left side all you have is the micro SIM tray. Around back is where you'll see one of the HTC One's premier features. This is what HTC calls the Ultrapixel camera. Basically the idea here is that instead of going with the megapixel race and adding as many as they can, they decided to stick with 4 megapixels but make those pixels bigger so that you can actually gather a lot more light. In practice, I find that yes, it definitely gathers a lot more light, but at the same time you can really tell that it's lacking in the megapixel range. 1080p video looks great and it's at full resolution, so there's no degradation there. The stabilization works really well and the colors look good, but when moving over to pictures I found it was leaving me with something to be desired. It definitely works and most people won't care that it's a lower resolution, but for whatever reason I can definitely tell and it really bothers me. The camera software on the other hand is really great. You have your basic options that you would expect in any camera app, and you also have your more in-depth settings so you can change everything from ISO to white balance, and choose from different scene modes. You also have an array of filters that you can apply to the image real time, which is really cool. There's some really fun ones, and they're fun to play around with. There's also another one of HTC's features here called Zoe. Basically what this does is take a short video in full resolution so that you can then go back and choose the best frame out of those pictures. It's nice, and I also found that it helps a lot when taking a picture of animals because they like to move around a lot and it's always hard to get a good picture of them. The front-facing camera is very nice as well. It's a wide-angle lens, so you don't have to hold it very far from me to get everything in shot. And it's a 2.1 megapixel sensor which shoots 1080p video, which is really nice. Going back to this beautiful screen, it's a 4.7-inch 1080p Full HD display. Comes in at 468 ppi, which is pretty incredible. There's no possible way you can ever see pixels on this screen. It really looks amazing. The colors and brightness are very good, and it's the best Android screen out there that I've used. Now the interesting thing about 1080p is that you really can't tell. Because of the human eye limitation, there's only a certain point where you're actually going to be able to see a difference. I've asked a number of people if they think this is a higher resolution than their iPhone or Android smartphone, and nobody can tell. That's not to say it's a bad screen, it's definitely the best Android screen out there, and I love it. Diving into software, we have HTC Sense 5. I've always hated HTC Sense. I thought it always looked terrible, but HTC Sense 5 has really done an overhaul, and it really looks a lot better, and it doesn't get in the way as much. One of the main features of Sense 5 is called Blink Feed. This is a Flipboard-esque home screen, and it aggregates a whole bunch of different sources, and you can scroll through them and see the latest news. I found myself actually using it every once in a while, which was surprising, but I don't think I was using it in the way HTC intended. I was just kind of checking to see what was there. I wasn't actually using it for news. One really annoying thing is that you can't turn this off, so it's always going to be on your home screen. You can move it so that it's not your default home screen, but it's always going to be there, and inevitably you'll flip through on accident, which gets really annoying. And in a nutshell, that's kind of what Sense is. It's a whole bunch of features that HTC built in that don't really need to be there. Some of them serve their features and do it well, but they don't really add anything, and a lot of the times they just become annoying. For instance, with Blink Feed, it's nice that it's there and I have the option to use it, but I can't turn it off, so it immediately becomes annoying just because of that. Also, there's no quick settings, so I can't change anything from the notification bar like I normally would. And down in the dock, you can't take stuff in and out of it like you normally would in Android. It's just things like this that really become annoying about HTC's Sense, and begs the question why HTC even does this. It seems as though they're trying to add features just so they can have their own skin on top of Android. Getting away from Sense, the performance of this phone is outstanding. It's one of the best Android phones I've used. It's running Android 4.1, which is already outdated, but at least it has Project Butter, so everything is super smooth, and there's very little lagginess. As soon as you figure out your way around the phone, you can do things very quickly. And all this is thanks to the processor, which is a Snapdragon 600 processor clocked at 1.7 GHz, and that is quad-core. The speeds here are great, and the 1080p display doesn't seem to be a hindrance on it at all, and it's one of the smoothest Android experiences I've had so far. We also have 2 GB of RAM inside, NFC and LTE like you would expect. The battery on the HTC One is very good, and I found that it lasts my entire day. It's rocking a 2300 mAh battery, which is slightly smaller than its competitors, but it definitely doesn't show, and if you're using it with normal use, it's going to last you throughout the day no problem. But like any other device, if you're doing a lot of surfing or watching videos, it's going to deplete the battery pretty fast. But overall, I haven't found the battery to be an issue, and it complements the hardware well. Another one of HTC's premier features is called Boom Sound, and these are the 2 front-facing speakers. They're Beats branded, so you can take that for what it's worth, but when it comes to actual quality, these are the best I've ever seen on a smartphone. You have 2 speakers, one on top of the screen and one on bottom of the screen, and these are stereo mics facing directly at you. When you're watching a video, you can actually hear things go from left to right or right to left, and a lot of the time I forgot that it was actually a smartphone I was watching this on. They aren't really louder than any other phone except for them facing at you, but you can definitely tell a difference in sound quality, and here's a sample. So as you can tell, these speakers are amazing, and it's definitely one of the top selling points of this phone. So overall, the HTC One is a great phone, but it leaves the question if this can actually save HTC. On paper, this is one of the leading phones on the market right now, but in use it's kind of a mixed bag. You have a great screen, but a lackluster camera. You have great build quality, but you're lacking in software. Overall, when looking to buy this phone, you have to decide what's important to you. If you're looking for a phone with great build quality and a great screen that's powerful and you can use all day, then this is a great phone for you. But if what you really want is a stock Android experience or you want a great camera, then you might want to look elsewhere. Overall, even with some of its faults, this is still my favorite Android phone to date, and I love using it every single day. It's truly a joy, and I can't recommend this phone enough. So that's my review of the HTC One. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe. That really helps me out, and it would be awesome. Like I said, I'm Matt, and I'll see you guys in my next one. See ya!